Remember, everything is about strategy in the JJ world. When I discovered the power of salt, everything was possible. Salt is life. Salt can be used as a curative effect. Salt is everything that people do not understand. And the reason why the system has scared you away from salt is because they can control your lifespan, control your thoughts, control your feelings, control your innovation. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just, it is what it is. Okay? I mean, you have to have a uniform society with some semblance of order. You can't have people all over the freaking place. And so when you control their access, when you control their perception of salt, it's easy to then be the one to be the savior of the day. That's what all those electrolyte solutions are in the IV bags at the hospitals when somebody is electrolyte deficient because they're dehydrated from a new viral introduction and the body is going through its purposes and stuff or whatever. And so JJ is all about strategy. Yes, initially it does open up your first and second lines of defense, so you feel all the different viral energy that you've suppressed, and you're resetting your body so you don't have a disproportionate outcome as far as your body, mind, and spirit. Okay? You need to be balanced in body, mind, and spirit, and that looks and feels and comes off in a very specific way that you will figure out. So I'm not going to tell you what normal is. Everyone's going to figure it out for themselves. So the strategy with the whole thing with the salt can be a cure at the micro level, and salt is a cure at the macro level. At the macro level, the environment will work against you. That's why I say do the J juice initially a few times, reset your body, and then release and then regenerate by eating and releasing in a balanced way. Because you don't want to be in a cure state of decline or you'll turn into beef jerky. Okay, we don't want people turning into beef jerky because they don't survive in a dynamic environment. And so if you are so scared of the vectors out there, okay, there is another way if you need to keep working and come up negative on a spit test. Because salting out means that you take a shot of J juice or you do a shot of salt water and you're neutralizing all the antibodies that are in your throat. You gargle with the salt water. Maybe you swallow it. Maybe you just gargle with salt water. You don't even have to drink it. Or you can do a shot. You need the salt anyway. Some of you are very salt deficient, so you might as well just take the salt. But some people don't want to do that. But they want to find a way to get around the system. Well, there's always a way. You got to have options. You know the ramifications. If you don't evolve, if you don't actually evolve and take in the electrolytes, then you're not going to survive regardless. But there is a way to get around the system so you don't come up positive on a spit test, and you're not going to be communicable. You're not going to be shedding anything on anyone. So when you test negative on a spit test, you're saying that, yeah, you're not communicable. That's probably just fine. They don't really care, your intention. They just want to see a negative that you're not communicable. And you're asymptomatic. If you are symptomatic and you have a bunch of stuff, and you're already pretty much knee deep in some kind of COVID infection, well, it's going to be more than just a shot of J juice or a shot of salt water. It's going to be that you're going to have to go through the processes of releasing and regenerating and getting all those different antibodies at bay. But if if you're relatively healthy and you're not dealing with anything, okay, and you don't want to get the vector, well, then gargle or take a shot of J juice, take a shot of salt water, and neutralize all the antibodies that are in your throat, in your mucus, everything. Because salting out, I looked up the whole thing about salting out because I knew that salt was like a cure. It could be a cure at the micro level, it could be a cure at the macro level. Okay, and it does neutralize viruses. Salt neutralizes viruses. It also energizes them, but then more salt neutralizes them, just like it does to the cancer cells, the tumor cells, because they're run by viruses, right? So I said, hey, drink a shot of salt water or JJ before a COVID test if you feel sniffly. The antibodies are deactivated or neutralized. I bet you would pop a negative on a COVID spit test. So there's free spit tests everywhere. You can go find one at your local whatever store, your library, or they're giving them away everywhere, okay? There's free COVID tests everywhere. So test it out. Test it out. Maybe you've been exposed to a COVID or something, you feel sniffly, so you do salt water and neutralize, and then you do the spit test and see. Okay? So anyways, the titer tests, which are the blood tests, they require more time because it tests your blood. So they're going to look for antibodies in your blood. That you really can't get by too much. I mean, really the spit tests are just to give you that stay of execution when it comes to working every week. Because I'm telling you, every single week that you have to give a spit test, that's great. If you are in a cured state, so to speak, and you need to be performing at your job, do what you got to do. If you don't want to feel any kind of sickness, that's fine. You do what you got to do. But if you want, I mean, this is where you're going to have to play the game very carefully. Because there are consequences to all of your choices. You do the shortcuts, the outcome is not going to be in your corner. But at least you know that there are shortcuts there in case, and it's not, doing anything that's antibiotic. It's just a neutralizing effect. Maybe that you do the spit test and you do the shot of J juice and salt water to neutralize those antibodies if they are present. But then during the week, you feed your body a lot of food. You keep eating, and maybe feeling a little sniffly, but at least you pass that weekly spit test. So you're sick in between the spit tests, and then if it comes to that. But then, every Monday we have to test for your job, then, you do a shot and neutralize the antibodies in your ear, nose, and throat, whatever, and you come up negative, everybody's happy. So it's all strategy. You have to understand the power of salt. You have to understand symptoms. Shortcuts are not long-term, just so you know. So you're going to have to play with this. You have to feel, pain. You have to feel symptoms. You have to mucus out, and maybe you mucus out in between the tests. Okay? But there are ways to get around this if you really have to. And so this is what I'm going to tell my husband. Okay? He has a high salt diet. I asked him, honey, when I was out there and feeling everything, did you feel anything? He's like, no. I'm like, okay. Most likely he'll come up negative on a spit test. Most likely. But if he comes up positive, they'll send him home, and then what he'll do is he'll just drink, he'll drink some salt water or whatever, go back and take the test again, he'll come up negative. Well, what'd you do? That's the thing. But I would suggest that you understand the strategy behind all of this. Salt is the key thing. Salt can evolve you, and salt can put you in a cured state of decline. You have to understand the power of salt. And don't abuse salt, because you'll turn into beef jerky. And you keep doing the J juice. Let me tell you, those of you that want to be in a cured state of decline, you'll end up looking like the crypt keeper if you keep doing J juice on a continuous basis. You have to evolve at some point, but there are ways around the roadblocks in the system to try to get people to be asymptomatic and sending them, to be asymptomatic or whatever, or detecting a divergent in the society. Okay, so, but the whole point, the crux of it all, is they don't want you to be symptomatic and communicable. And so you are abiding by the system's intentions, which is to neutralize any antibodies in your mucus. That's the whole intention of the system. What you do with that and the outcome of that will be now ultimately up to you. But you have strategies around all of this. Just understand what you must do in the long run and the short run, and balance it all. Okay? Because we're in a new world now, but salt is your friend. All right, bye.